If you were to take sex out of the equation when it comes to being in a relationship with someone, choosing your partner, if you were to take that out of the equation, what about your partner would convince you to stay? Really think about that. The reason I am posing this question is because when you take lust and desire out of the equation, you are filtering out most of your prospective dating options, aren't you? When you take that away, what is left? Well, what is left is true and genuine characteristics of a person that is inherently valuable. More valuable than lust. Sure, attraction plays its part, it does. However, if you have the ability to see past that and see deep into a person, who they are, beyond what their body or face looks like, if you are coming from that type of angle, the likelihood of you making better decisions when it comes to who you allow into your life, it'll improve. And in the same way that if you are a woman, right? If you take away money and status from a man, what he can provide you in the material sense, take that away. If you strip that, then what is left? What about that man will convince you to stay? Maybe he is extremely loving and patient. Maybe he just has a real masculine aura about him. Maybe he makes you feel safe. Maybe he's really good at helping you deal with your emotions. When we take away this material objectification of each other, when we take that away, it's kind of like a filter, right? Then we are able to actually make a rational judgment and decision as to whether this person is going to be a good match for you. I once asked this question to a good a friend of mine, Archie, if you are watching, hello. I once asked him this question about if you take sex away, what would convince you to stay in that relationship? And this question really intrigued him. It allowed him to think of things outside the box, outside the scope of our usual perception of things. And yeah, he basically said, man, I've never thought about it like that. But now that you've framed it in that way, yeah, maybe that is what I should be starting to look at instead of just pure physical attraction through lust. It is very interesting when we are able to transcend the animal impulses that are inside of us, and we try to look at things through a more conscious lens. Now, I think if we approach things in this way, then in the long run, I think we will be a lot happier with our choice of partners, because in many ways the initial stages of a relationship, the attraction phase, they call it the honeymoon phase, don't they? In many ways, that is kind of like a drug. It is kind of like a massive dopamine hit. And you may or may not realize this, however, the more times that you sleep with a certain person, and even further ejaculate, the less attracted you will be to them, and the less attracted they will be to you. It causes a separation, and that comes back to the whole analogy of the masculine and the feminine as a battery, right? If the masculine is discharging his energy source, then the attraction isn't as strong because he is depleted. Now, this very concept of the more that you sleep with someone and the more that you achieve orgasm with someone, causing the attraction to dissipate. This is an understanding that is very esoteric. And I'd even say that this is a very good reason why divorce rates are so high in this current day and age. Ancient people, they knew about this, and they knew that overindulging in sex will ultimately lead to the destruction of their civilizations, because civilizations, they need strong men, and they also need strong women too. But men throughout history, they have typically been the protectors and the leaders of tribes. And if the leaders are becoming weak through lust, then it ultimately leads to very poor decision making, and it also leads to an imbalance of the masculine and the feminine dynamic, and how it is so powerful how they both balance each other out. So in closing, if you were to take away sexual desire, lust, if you were to take away the possibility of having continuous sex with someone, what would convince you to stay with that person in a relationship? Now, anyone on semen retention, I think that this very question, at some stage, it will come into your mind, because you are on a path of basically doing exactly that, taking sex out of the equation. That is what you are doing, and it is allowing you to raise your energy and thus give yourself every chance to overcome the chains that lust has on each of us in our lives. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Take care.